Hello and welcome to Magical Witchy World. I am Star Ravenhawk.
And I am Rhonda Allen. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome this week.
Yeah. And we have to apologize ahead of time. Santero Ian Ford was supposed to be with us tonight, and we're not quite sure what happened, but he's not here with us. So maybe we can pick him up another time, unless he will come in at some point while we do the show. So in the meantime, we will go on with other things. So,
Go on
Wanda,
with other things. Yeah.
yes. So you mentioned that there was something that was said by someone. If you can explain that to us, and I would love to give my
Yeah.
input if I can.
Absolutely. So, what's happening in the news? What's happening in the world today? So, aside from current events, we're just going to dive into what's going on within the witchy pagan world. And something that I read, and this was something that was posted by Matt Oren a couple weeks back, a week or two back. He spread it around. It was an article in the New York Times having to do with a particular magical shop owner in an area in Pennsylvania. I think not far
Hmm.
outside of Philly, maybe an hour or so outside of Philly,
Right.
who was having some issues because local ordinance or local laws had stated that having a tarot card reader in your shop was a form of fortune telling, which they had ordinances against. And yeah, she was having a lot of issues with that.
Wow.
So here we have some, and I'm just going to use this language, antiquated, still today,
Right.
ordinances in place. The idea is we're trying to keep people from being swindled rather than acknowledging that times they have changed. Things are not quite in that same sense. We do have people who've been at this. So I just wanted to bring this up as a topic just to say there's still so much work we have to do with educating the general
Right. Right.
public on the work that we do,
Right.
the work
Right.
that we do. And, it's
And this is
owner
where.
going through that type of challenge.
What part of the
It's
U.S. is
about
that?
an hour in Philadelphia, and I'm sorry, in
Oh,
Pennsylvania. And
okay.
I think the
Okay.
city is,
Okay.
within an hour distance of Philadelphia. So,
Okay. So
it's
it's in Philadelphia or somewhere within Philadelphia, kind of a thing. So
with
I don't
an
know the
hour outside.
laws. Yeah. I don't know the laws on everything in other states, but because I'm beginning to realize that New York has a whole lot of forward-thinking laws put
Mm.
into place. At the same time, they do still have some antiquated laws, which I can mention, but
Yeah,
that are like,
yeah,
what are you talking about? Kind of a thing on the books, but in general, New York does have some forward thinking laws that when I go,
hmm,
but don't you have so and so in another state? And they're like, no. I'm like, what?
yeah,
Because I'm
yeah,
horrified by the fact that they don't have the same protection that we do. But in New York, you can do readings and everything as long as you have a plaque saying that it's for entertainment purposes only.
right,
And that
right,
way, that's how everyone that does readings publicly outside and things like that get around that. So no one ever says anything because they have the plaque saying it's for entertainment purposes only. And,
precisely.
no
Yeah.
one's being swindled in that what they think is being swindling. But it's a shame that they don't have laws like that protecting them in Philadelphia. I mean, who knows? Maybe they do, and they don't know that.
Right.
So they should
And
check into that. I mean, they may have the similar laws, and if they put up the plaque saying or sign saying for entertainment purposes only,
well,
they
in
might be
this
able to do it.
this particular case, and this is going back on pure memory at this point of I'm reading the article. It was an article that was published, I think, in the New York Times, and
Hmm.
it was the town sheriff or the police chief or somebody. The police were actually showing up at her shop to tell her that readings would not be are not approved for that particular area. So it
Was
was
the
the
area
police, it was the law that literally came by and said, "No, you cannot do this. We have an ordinance in place," or what have you. That
so
yeah,
is
and
based on the area then?
yeah, there's an
Yeah.
actual something in that town. But the over or the larger topic, the larger subject for me was just recognizing, yes, we have come a long way. There are so many people who are out here who are, even if they're not practicing, they are, I'm going to say, adjacent to the larger community, the pagan community, metaphysical community, whatever, however you wish to term it. they are adjacent, so they're curious, they participate in events, they are not necessarily upset by hearing that someone calls themselves a witch or that they read, their horoscope or that they're practicing, divination of some sort. They're not necessarily horrified, but we still have a lot of cleanup that needs to happen to
Okay.
get us past all of,
Right, right.
what
I'm gonna apologize. My son has to walk behind me again.
Mhm.
I can't put the camera on like that. Oh my goodness.
So
I'm so sorry.
it's alright, that's life. This is, we share space. We share space.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's,
I just thought, that he had
okay.
everything he needed, but I guess not.
It's alright.
Okay.
That's okay.
Anyways, life goes
So
on.
yes,
Yeah,
and
but that is amazing to me. I guess their part of the city has an ordinance in place for that,
yes,
and of course
exactly, and it's
somebody
old.
called, and reported it.
Exactly,
Somebody did,
exactly
and
so.
that's a shame because the fact that they actually put it in the ordinance is amazing.
Well, I can tell you a lifetime, a real experience that I had, and that's is here I live in New Jersey. I was attending or working at an event locally a few months back, and one of the vendors who was signed up to also vend at this same event backed out and wrote the organizer saying they were backing out of the event because they learned that there would be a tarot card reader there
Excuse me? Oh, you.
and
Okay.
they did not feel that they were aligning themselves with the right community of people since
Oh,
they were
wow.
working with things that were, you know,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
what era? Like you
divination,
really begin to wonder sometimes, what era are we
divination.
in? Are
Hmm.
we in 2023?
Yeah.
But like I said, there is that archaic law. It has nothing to do with witches or our community, but there is a law on the books that bugged the fuck out of me.
Hmm.
And I did not know about it until after my husband passed away, I went to refinance my mortgage
Mm,
so that I could make it more affordable. I paid my mortgage for 3 years by myself after he passed away. And I was
yes.
running into financial difficulty to do that because it was 3,500 a month.
Hmm.
And
That's
that was back in
substantial.
1995.
Hmm. Hmm. That's
3,500
substantial.
a month by myself for 3 years. And I
Yes.
said, okay, I need to refinance. And they said, well, we need this, this, and that. I provided everything. I provided
Yes.
my husband's death certificate. And then they said to me, we need your husband's signature. I said, you have his death certificate.
Yes.
What do you mean? He's obviously passed away.
Yes.
And they were like, I'm sorry, but chattel cannot own property, or property cannot own property. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, this is
There
ridiculous.
is an old law on the books, and women are considered properties of their husbands, chattel. So we chattels are
Chattel.
not allowed to um, uh, um, um,
Own
to
property.
own property. So me owning it, even though everything on the book says I do,
Yes.
deed everything and my payments all this time, and I
Oh,
could not refinance. And that's when I had to, sell it and move, which I'm glad I did now. But
yes.
at the time, I was so outraged by the fact that I was called a chattel or property.
Yeah,
And
this
without
is
his
that is so
signature, I
antiquated.
was literally saying to her, so you want me to go dig his bloody grave up, pull his hands out,
Yes,
and have him sign this
and
paperwork?
sign
Are
this
you
thing.
bloody kidding me?
That
I was livid.
that's the
Yeah,
ridiculousness of it
yeah.
all.
And apparently there was a group that was formed back then of women who went through similar things, trying to
Oh,
fight
yes.
that law to have it removed because
I
that's
believe it.
so ridiculous. But there are
That
laws that
is
are
very
still on the books that
antiquated.
you're sitting there going, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Well, we can go into all of that
Yeah.
because there've
But
been so many
anyways,
things
yeah.
that we've
Yeah.
regressed on.
But it's
But
sad that
it's
that has happened in this day and age, regarding
yeah.
you and tarot readings and all of that, that there are even laws in place like that, you know.
It just calls for additional work
Yeah.
there needs to be additional education
Right.
and, that type of thing. I have a particular opinion. That's my jam. I work with the cards.
Right,
That is
right.
my
Yeah, I
passion.
know, I know.
But even when I sit with clients and they tell me, and I ask a client when they sit at my table, I ask them, "Have you had readings before?" If they tell me no, this is their first reading, I tell them flat out, I appreciate you for sitting with me for your first reading. And here's why, because I really want them to walk away recognizing, understanding what it means to sit for a tarot card reading,
Right.
what it means to sit for divination, where you're not getting told, oh, you need to, where somebody's trying to swindle you
Right.
into
Right.
paying thousands of dollars to remove some kind of a curse, which we know
Yeah.
some people
Some
do
people
say.
do that.
And so you're giving us a bad
Yeah.
name. So we still have some hurdles, and that's just one form of our magical practice.
Right.
The work we do, the festival, Witches
Yeah.
Fest, NYC, I mean USA, knowing that, thankfully 2023 there weren't
Yeah.
people out there with the blowhorn
Right.
making noise. But it still
Yeah.
happens, there's a lot of education to go
Yeah,
on.
yeah. And we also need to not just us fighting act as an activist to fight and change certain laws, but we also
Mm,
need to arm ourselves with the knowledge and the power. Don't be ignorant of the laws, because you better believe after I found out about that chattel law, I went looking up all the laws and I went trying to figure out how I can go around it and all the different things. And at the time, I didn't have
yes.
the mindset. I was so messed up, with grief, that I didn't have the
Yes.
mindset to do it. But years later, you know, I would fight something like that. I would, stand behind it. So educating or having your the knowledge of your legal rights, like we did with
Mhm.
Witches Fest, when I sent it to everyone, um,
Yes.
quoting and attaching Supreme Court rulings based on other similar religions like ours, and that we had
Mhm.
the right to gather in public with free
Yes.
speech without being and our rights being infringed upon by another
Yes.
religious organization. And
Yes,
so they were there
exactly.
protecting us all day, because I
Yes.
made sure I passed it on to everybody, and finding out that the mayor had something to do with it as well. That was great, because I was bombarding everybody
Yes.
with the emails.
And rightly
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
It was important. It was important, and I'm grateful that we had the space to have an event and not have to
To
have
deal with it.
that commotion
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on,
Not
that
once, not
distraction
once did
going
we have to
on.
deal with it all day. So
Exactly.
you do have to find out your information legally to how to defend
Mhm.
yourself. Because if you don't, this is where it
Yes,
runs into a problem. So
absolutely.
you could at least fight back,
Challenging.
and you couldn't do that with the police officers, or rather she couldn't, because he's saying that there's an ordinance that
There's
was
an
written
ordinance in
into
place.
it.
Yeah.
I'm
And so
curious
now
as to when that ordinance was put in.
it's old. It's antiquated.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it
So
was
then it's
late
something that they need
1800s
to
or
work on
something.
and fight.
Absolutely.
Somebody
It
in
needs
New
to
York
just come
State
off the
did,
books.
because some people did it in New York State, because they have that law with you putting up your plaque saying for entertainment
Yep.
purposes
Entertainment
only.
purposes
So
only.
others should do the
That's it.
same.
Exactly so.
Don't be ignorant
Uh,
of the law. Try to educate yourself a little bit.
have
Yeah.
it. Exactly.
So you're
Exactly.
armed with knowledge to help yourself.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're diving into our time
Astrology time.
can
Oh, you're frozen, or am
fly.
I frozen?
You were frozen for a second, but maybe
Oh,
I was
okay.
frozen too. I don't know. But in any case, perhaps we should dive into our astrology now since we have
Yes,
quite a
yes,
bit.
yes. So,
Yes, indeed. Here we go.
okay, let's do. All right. So tonight we are continuing with the decans, and we are at Capricorn and Aquarius. So I'm going to begin with the Capricorn and the
Yes.
three different decans and what is involved with them. And I'll do the first one, the decan one. And that's for those who are born December 22nd through January 1st. Okay, that's decan
Mhm.
one, Capricorn decan. This Capricorn decan one is ruled by Jupiter and Saturn, a Capricorn triplicity. It ascends through the constellations of the Archer, the Telescope, the Shield, and the Serpent from 0 to 10 degrees Capricorn. This decan is dominated by the constellation Sagittarius to Archer. So these folks aim high with their arrows and shooting to kill, sometimes literally because of the presence of ruthless faces here. But majority of times, the piercing arrow of the archer will just be a very astute symbolic shot to the heart of the matter. Thankfully, they are ruled by Saturn, making them task oriented, structured, and hardworking. They make their own rules and they do their best in environments where they can succeed and stand out. Though they can come off as cold, as their natural disposition is to lean into their determined energy and focus most of their attention on stability and structure. They also radiate authority, success, being brave, distinguished, glamorous, impatient, and a bit old fashioned. They have a strong and honorable work ethic and are so religiously dedicated to whatever path they choose in life that every business deal they make is sacrosanct. Everything in their life is a crusade, no matter how small, no matter how run of the mill the situation might be. They are very serious. Even the comedians among them work incredibly hard to get a laugh. These folks deliver rapier witted one liners that completely disarm their opponents. On any pulpit, they will utterly convince the flock around them this is no ordinary goat, as they have a lot to prove to the world. With two nebulas in this zone, bringing both stars of the constellation Telescopium into sight, giving a person vision and foresight to see into the future and the ability to imagine what is beyond the visible. This will give them the ability to prophecy, but because they tend to be skeptics, they attribute it to having a good sense of business timing. They are practical visionaries, very driven to crystallize their dreams. They make great stock market dealers and property developers. They buy houses in areas that 2 years later prove to be up and coming. Because these folks are so far ahead of their time, they get laughed at a lot. But karma will hit you 10 years down the line when they now own half the street and you need a favor. Goats never forget. They need a Jupiterian partner to snap them out of their occasional tunnel vision and get them to see the bigger picture. A spiritual path is important to them. A no nonsense practical spiritualism, and if they are religious, they will be very hands on in their practice with as a priest or priestess type energy. Those that reach high office, you can be sure they started out on the shop floor or even cleaning toilets. This makes them all the wiser as they will have picked up valuable experience at the grassroots level. These Decan 1 goats are usually quite proud of the fact that they have had such long, drawn out, and sometimes arduous journeys to the top. That broad experience at all levels is their badge of honor and they wear it well. Some of these Capricorn Decan 1s are Nostradamus, Carlos Castaneda, Louis Pasteur, Mao Zedong, Madame Pompadour, Catherine of Aragon, Justin Trudeau, Ted Cruz, Thomas Woodrow Wilson, Jude Law, Anthony Hopkins, Ben Kingsley, Humphrey Bogart, Ralph Fiennes, Val Kilmer, John Voight, Maggie Smith, Marlene Dietrich, Denzel Washington, Sissy Spacek, Tracy Ullman, Mary Tyler Moore, Henry Miller, and Tiger Woods, to say the least. I am sure
Those
they're
are
that
fabulous.
is really great. Okay,
Yes.
so uh,
But guess
we do.
what?
I was just about to say we just discovered that Ian is here with us, so we can stop and we can begin with
Yeah.
Decan 2 after Ian has
Yes.
finished his interview. Okay,
Excellent. Hold
excellent. Let's go
on.
on.
Well, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Santero
Yeah.
Ian Ford, we can hear you just fine. Let's just get you in the screen correctly.
All right.
I'm hoping that you'll screech.
My apologies for
Welcome,
being late.
welcome, and
I made it. Against all
You
odds,
made
it's been quite a
it.
day. Yeah.
That's we're just grateful you're here and in one
I'm
Yeah.
glad to be
piece.
here. I'm glad to be here.
And woosah, we're grateful that you are here.
Yes, we
Yes.
are.
So,
Yes, we are.
Bueno. Do we need
Yeah.
white light or anything? Is this pink okay?
Yeah.
well,
It,
it, it's a
it's
little dark, but
yeah.
hey, if that's what you've got, then that's what you got.
Okay.
That makes you look a little, the light's right above your head, but we'll figure it out.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
That'll work.
that'll work. Well, welcome
And
and welcome to the show.
we're happy
I
to
am
have you
Rhonda
here.
Allen. We're happy to have you, but I'm just going to jump right in. I want to introduce you to everyone who is watching or following back on a replay. I'm going to go through your bio.
Okay.
So bear with me. Okay.
Don't tell the feds.
Santero Ian Ford is a popular resident of New York City's underground and edgy scenes with successful residencies at the Bank, Webster Hall, Splash, XL, and more. Yes. He also possesses excellent lighting, sound, and video skills and is a master at orchestrating the whole party experience. I can attest.
It's true.
He believes everyone I can attest. He believes everyone should leave the party better than when they came in and uses his skill set to make that happen. In 2017, Ian opened a coffee and tea shop in Bushwick, the
Yay!
Caffeine Underground. Yes.
You should
The
check it
shop
out.
hosts a variety of events, music, art shows, and education for alternative and independent cultures. The Caffeine Underground was recently featured in the press, national press, for being the first coffee shop in New York to legally
All right.
sell CBD infused coffee.
Yeah.
Ian continues to promote health awareness and spiritual movement through the cultures that he's cultivated at the coffee shop. In addition, Ian studies and teaches, and I'm going to mess this up. Is it Pa Kwa martial
Yes.
arts? Okay, all right. Reiki and Shin Chi Kwa.
You got it.
Nice.
Ian Santero Ian Ford, thank you for being with us. We have and will stream your connectionianford.com throughout the night's interview. But thank you and welcome. And Star, I'm turning it over.
All right. So we have a bit of a Q&A for you. So we wanted to ask you a few questions.
I'm
I'm going
ready.
to begin with the first question with, I guess, your arc of the name that you called yourself, and when you first came into being that person spiritually, what you called yourself and what you call yourself now.
Well, what do you mean? Like as in the title of what I do?
Yeah, like what like you might have started out maybe as a Wiccan. I don't know that. So we want to know where you started and where you are now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it all started in my childhood when I was seeing dead people, and that's not as uncommon as you think. And anyway, a very short version. It went away when I started drinking, and when I quit drinking, it all came back. Ended up meeting accidentally, no coincidence, this Reiki master named Ayla. And I took my Reiki 1 and 2 degrees from her. And then my life really accelerated from that point forward. I like right after 6 months after Reiki 2, I was on my way to New York to DJ up here.
Wow.
And I knew nothing of Santeria at the time, but I did have some, high placed guides and spirits that were walking with me all the time, and they sort of guided me to the right people. Ended up through a series of weird coincidences, so to speak, to meeting my godfather, and I needed some help. Some things were going wrong, and I needed a diviner or someone who could, help me straighten things out and make sense of it. Ended up meeting my godfather, who accepted me into his house of Santeria, and I learned about it there. Before that, I did try Wicca. Was experimenting around, like enchantments and all those places in New York City.
Yeah.
And, learning some of the stuff there. But when I walked into his place, I knew that was my home. And I don't know how I knew it, because all this stuff is Spanish and African, but I just felt really, really connected to all of it from the moment I walked in. So, I was just his godchild with nothing for a while. Then I took the initiations in order and ended up becoming a Santero.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
And that's what you are now. Awesome. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
That is fabulous.
Yeah.
Well,
So How do you, well, let's see. You gave us the story of what brought you into it. And when you say when you walked in and you felt that connection, I'm going to say, so is that what brought you or what keeps you in this? How is it that you find that this is confirmed in your life as being the thing? And how do you fully embrace that?
Wow. I
You
mean,
know,
it is my life. It's the primary concern of my life. It guides me through everything, through hardship and through good times. Um, when you make connections in this way with divinity, you don't really need to give it up. I cannot imagine not being
mhm,
a Santero, not being able to go to Oshun, my guardian angel, for any problem, any situation, any goodness, any gratitude. They're as
mhm,
part of my life as any human. They present themselves as how it is. They show themselves in so many ways,
yeah,
Yeah.
and you don't have to look for it. It's just right there. So
right.
um, it's a continuing, lifelong conversation. It's a continuing, lifelong interaction with the saint, what we call the Orisha, the saints.
Right.
The Catholic side of it. Since we're half Catholic, we can work with the saints. And the African side, we work with the Orisha, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
One mask, another mask, but it's the same energy, the same consciousness behind it.
Right.
So,
Right on.
it is just such a part of my life that I don't, you know, I get up and I say my morning prayers, and then I go throughout the day and I stop by my altars and check in, and if I sit and meditate a couple times a week with the spiritual altar, we call it the Beta, and
Mhm.
just that's just enmeshed in my life, everything I do. If I'm going
Right.
out for a
Right.
good DJ gig, I give Oshun a prayer and give her a little something to see if we can make it go a little better.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah. That is wonderful. That kind of is a good segue into from asking you from your point of view, not other Santeros or Santeras, but from your point of view, what does it mean to be a Santero?
Well, we're here to give service to the planet. We're here to, help everyone evolve. We're here to give the divinity, the human experience through our senses. Um, and we're here, to, in our religion, and this is true for all of us, the idea is to achieve your highest destiny in this lifetime.
Right. Right.
Everybody has
Mhm,
a destiny
mhm.
range from lowest to highest. We strive to achieve our highest, which is not always comfortable. We have to learn things, and not too many people learn from good times. So we go through things, and then the resolution takes us to the next level. And
Mhm,
it's just a
mhm,
continuing evolution of experience, of your life, of knowledge, of wisdom, and of service.
Thank you.
mhm,
That is
mhm.
wonderful. I've always admired you for that. And you and I have been friends, I don't know, like 25, 30
But
years
something
almost. A
since
long time, a long time.
I've known you since before
And
I made the same.
yeah, yeah. And it's so funny. Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey of all the feelings I have for you as a true and good friend to have. So I'm really happy having you here. All right.
That is
Yeah.
fabulous. So, I kinda it I have a question when it comes to how you started down this path and where you are today, and as you mentioned, this is your life. It's what you do. It's the everyday. And when you look at your everyday practice, is there something that you look back at this point in your life and say, wow, I can see the not just the progression, but of course you have the study, but the difference in the relationship. Let me put it that way. The difference you have in the relationship you have today with your practice and the relationship you had when you first started. How do you sense that? How do you feel that? It's a part of your everyday world, but how are you sensing that
Progression.
progression
Yeah.
or difference or
Yeah.
maturity or however you wanna call it?
Well, when you start out, you're shaky and you don't have any confidence, and you worry too much about stuff. And as I go along, I just get comfortable just taking one step after the other. And these days it's like, oh, a big, huge problem came my way today. Okay, I'll just solve it. I know that I'm protected. I know that I'm not going to fall, but I'm going to go through something so I can learn from it. And I used to freak out and used to, oh my God, oh my God. Now it's just like, okay, what now? You take the good with the bad. The communication, um, you know, with these forces is so much deeper these days. You just walk up to the
Mm,
altar and sense something most of the time. You don't even have to open an oracle once you get to that level. You're
mhm.
as much a part of them as they are a part of you. You're kind of all one big thing. And
Mm,
as time goes on, you become more and more intertwined, where you're just one big thing.
Yeah.
right
When I'm
on.
doing something, it's Oshun doing something. When Oshun's doing something, it's me doing something. Or any of the saints or any of the spirits. I find that channeling has gotten a lot easier. It's the initiation, changes you, spiritually,
Mhm.
energetically, and that just continues to grow throughout your life. So you're what we call your ori, your higher self, gets bigger and bigger and more intertwined with what's above that. So
Mhm.
um, I guess it's just a matter of it being just it's just present now. I
Yeah.
used to reach
Yeah.
for it, and now it's just there. It's sort of like think about learning tarot cards. Oh my God, what is this? Let me look it up. Let me do this, and then you throw them down,
Yeah.
and you start talking, and you know what to say, even if it's not the definition of the card. That card sparks something. It's just you just know what it is, and
Yeah.
it just starts
Yes.
coming through you. And that's really the I guess the crux of all this. You become a conduit for them. You know.
Fabulous.
Absolutely.
That is fabulous. And that's such a powerful
Yeah.
message that, for me to hear, for everyone to hear is just that, there it becomes such an imbued part of who you are. As you said, there's no separation at a certain point. This is
And
just
as it should
you
be.
act
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Fabulous. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what's become important to you right now.
Oh well. I'd like to. The only things I really wish to do with my life are divination and DJing. So those are the important things.
Okay.
And they're kind of two sides of one coin because you're taking
Mhm.
energy and you're helping people with it. When I'm in the DJ booth or if I'm on the mat divining, it's not about me. It's about who's out there and what do they need. Like, do these people need to hear a certain type of music to make, to give them the experience they need? Does this person need to hear a certain message to give them the experience they need?
Mhm.
It's like that, and that's what's important is really service.
Yeah.
People people think maybe when you do that you're being obsequious, but that's not the case. You're here to help.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
a king is a servant. He's not a ruler as much. A really good king is a servant. He's here
Yeah. Yeah.
to
And
serve.
that's something that's hard for a lot of people to learn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, there are authors out there that use Santeria from the perspective of power. How
Yes.
much power you
Mm.
have. But I'm more on the Ochani Lele school or my godfather and Ifa school. Is no, we're here to help. You know,
Yes.
we'll
Yeah.
always have what we need as long as we're doing what we're supposed to do to help. What we're supposed to help, whether it's a
Yeah.
person or even an animal or a plant or a situation or whatever we're here to do. We're here to do. I opened this coffee shop for that reason, to give people an event venue that didn't require alcohol or inebriation to enjoy.
Right.
Right on.
I think
Yeah.
that's a
That's
big service to the community right there. And we have all kinds of events here. We've had Mystic Mondays, which was a lot of fun before COVID destroyed all that. We
Yeah.
have um, we have these music circles that come in here, and they leave the place just when you walk in the next day after they have this musical drumming in the main room. It's just incredible the way the place feels for like a month afterward.
That
yeah.
That
is
that
beautiful.
elevates everyone, me included, but the neighbors included, everybody wins on stuff like that, and that's what I like to do. It's
That
just put a situation where everybody wins.
Yeah.
that is literally taking us into that next question we asked that we want to ask is, you know, talk about community. Talk. I mean, you obviously you have this beautiful space and you offer so many different things in that space. Tell us how that impacts and influences the community around you.
Well, I can tell you that a lot of younger people come here and they feel safe. They come in to do their music, to do art, and one of the things that happened a long time ago is they changed the drinking age to 21 from 18,
Right.
Mhm.
and very shortly after that, music stopped evolving as quickly because it's the
Mm.
younger people, the 16 to 20-year-olds, that bring the new music to our society.
Yeah.
And it's very important for that to be expressed somewhere. That's not in the dark bedroom or something, but they're making
Right. Right.
original music that nobody's hearing. But by the time you're 21 or 22, you've been
It's changed.
pushed into the mainstream and conditioned a little bit. Where okay, they're playing this same old song over there, but that's what they do, so we'll just do it. So
Yeah.
this is one little way for me to give New York City a little bit of fresh culture again. One of the
Right
things,
on.
New York
That's
is
awesome.
becoming very, cookie cutter. It's got a long way to go before it's, like any other place. It's still a marvel,
Yeah,
but it's not like it was in the 90s or early 2000s. And I'd like to see some of that come back. So this is part
yeah,
of my
yeah,
mission here is to sort of bring that aspect out a little bit. I mean,
yeah.
one small shop, but doing what I can.
It's
That's a
impacting
really good
community.
thing,
It's
though,
it's
because
it's
it's
impacting
impactful to a lot of
people.
people. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're right. There's a lot of things that are it's taking away. I guess the gentrification or whatever you want to call it. I don't call it necessarily gentrification. I call it basically if someone moved from Nebraska and they love New York, they love it so much, but they want to make it Nebraska. So they
Mhm.
kind of
It,
a thing. And I'm like, this is New York, baby. Stop
yeah,
trying to change it into wherever it is you came from. And that's what I see a lot. And it pisses me off immensely.
there's a lot of it. So,
Yeah, right. You know what I'm talking about. We see it
oh,
all the time.
yeah, this neighborhood is good for another 2 or 3 years, but then it's going to be exactly that. But people are moving to Ridgewood, East New York, and Bed-Stuy, so it'll still continue.
Yeah.
But every
Mhm.
time it moves to another neighborhood, it gets a little more diffused, a little smaller, and I would really like to see it come back.
Yeah, yeah. That's really
Yeah.
great to see that you're trying to do that. Um,
We have a
Exactly.
so-
show in the basement right now, so that's fun.
yeah, yeah. So it kind of
That's all
goes
right.
into the next question I wanted to ask you, which is what would you like to see the community accomplish, or whether it's maybe more of the Santeria people community or any community at all, the pagan community in general. What would you like to see them accomplish?
I'd like to see more gatherings, more people coming together in the name of whatever they're doing, like you
Mm.
do, Star. Like
Yeah,
bring all these different things together and everybody gets along because we're basically doing the same thing with different or similar methodologies. I'd like to see a lot,
Mhm.
more personal interaction like that without any politics, but
yeah,
just people being people.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And
Right on.
I think that what you're doing is brilliant with the workshops and such. My godfather in Ifa wants to do things like that as well. It's a little hard for him because he has client after client after client, and he's probably the best diviner in this hemisphere. And
Right.
so the demands on his time are formidable, but he's working to have an Ifa church. And if anybody's not familiar, Ifa,
That's
Ifa and
fabulous.
Catholicism are the two parent religions of Santeria, Voodoo, the Kumi, Candomblé, and all the 21 divisions, all the rest. And so, I'd like to see, a little bit of that happening. I'd like to own a venue where that happens sometimes, maybe
Yeah,
one day a
yeah,
week. It's like a pagan gathering or a Reiki circle or something like that.
yeah. Nice, nice. Yeah,
And I
Fabulous.
would like to see,
That's excellent.
and finally, I'd like to see, we're all kind of doing the same things different ways, but I'd like for all of us to be comparing notes and learn from one another because this is all becoming, it seems like where this is headed for the next, few centuries, it's all becoming one big thing.
yeah,
With not a
Yes.
lot of divisions, not a lot of separation. And I would like to see that happen where people can
yeah.
just
That would
come
be
together
nice.
and
That
find
would be
lessons to do
nice.
it.
And you know me, I'm always saying bring every type of thing to us because to me, I think we need to all really gather and show, look how different we
Yeah.
are. Our traditions may be different, but we are really similar. And that's what we
Yes.
want to show people,
Well,
us
that's the
coming
big
And
together.
that's part of the reason why this show exists. We
Yes,
want really
exactly.
to show that the umbrella is large and there are many people under this
well,
umbrella
Yes.
that's one of the bases
with
of
many different names.
Santeria right there. It's basically Santeria works well with pretty much every other system because we recognize that we're all doing kind of the same thing with the same energies. It just might look a little different superficially, but under the underlying current is one big thing.
Yes.
We're headed for, we're working
Exactly.
to have a species-wide spiritual evolution or enlightenment or wake-up call or whatever. Hopefully we can bring that forth, in a positive way to supersede what's actually going on right now. The
Yeah.
world's a mess, but sometimes it's darkest before the
Yeah.
dawn. And sometimes you
Right
do
on.
these tragedies before people wake up. It's like, why would you even bother doing that when we can have this instead? But
Yeah.
sometimes people don't know. You just
Yes.
get lost until you're forced to recognize a better way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, that kind of takes us to this next question. So you have this community space, and I'd love to see what you are, what you would hope to see as well. Tell us about some of the projects you have coming up or things that you're thinking about bringing about. tell us about what you have planned,
Oh, you
what
mean
your plans
at the
are
shop here?
at the shop there.
Yeah.
2023 wrapping up. What your ideas for 2024?
Well, let's see. I haven't gotten that far. I am working to. Basically, I'd like to see. I'd like to just get the word out a little more that we're a late night hangout. We just started being open until 11 p.m. And if
Right.
there's
Oh,
people here, I'll stay
excellent.
later because it doesn't cost me anything to sit here. And I'd like to
Right.
see, people have a safe place to hang out. That's not a bar. That's not, you need ID to get in or anything like that, where everybody can get along and talk. And a lot of times we've had it here and there. Before COVID, it was actually headed in that direction, and
Right.
Hmm.
that kind of rearranged the neighborhood. So we're rebuilding the crowd now. But what I like that happens in here, and I'd like to see more of, is you see people of all ages, all ethnicities, all religions, all backgrounds, all colors, all like all genders, just sitting around together. You know,
Right.
like working on community art. There was chat and craft on Sundays where people just
Nice.
resupply the materials and people can just show up and make something and get to know somebody they don't know.
Right.
That's
Beautiful.
a great starting point. I'd also like to see people learning not to judge others by superficialities or what they do with their life or what they believe in. I'd like to see people get
Hmm.
together and just exchange knowledge like we're doing with Star.
Yeah.
Just be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's the whole idea
that's
behind it.
exactly right.
And
That's awesome.
That's exactly right.
as far as this place goes, I would just like to see that in the evening. I like to see people hanging out. We don't make you buy anything to be here, so come here. Exist.
Right.
Read a book. We got a library. We've got games. We've got other people. We've got computers. Do something.
Right. Right.
That's fabulous.
And
It's not.
That's an
I was gonna
excellent
kind of
That's an excellent
delve in there
resource.
with a little bit about what events you have going on, but you said a lot of them already. Unless you have a specific one or anything like that you want to add to it, that would be great to hear.
Well, we have a lot of music nights here, but we also have a monthly meeting of the Brooklyn Psychedelic Society,
Mm.
which is a group of people that are exploring spirituality more chemically, but it works for
Yeah.
them. No judgment. They get the same information we get, so they're
Right.
having the same
Right.
experiences we're having when done right, and that's been a big boon here. They've been an amazing group of people that bring an amazing energy here. We have, like open mic, but it's different at a coffee shop. You don't have to be good. This is where you make your mistakes. This is where you learn. This is where you come in. And nobody judges here.
Right.
Whether your
Right.
comedy is good or your music is good or bad. Nobody cares. It's a coffee shop.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
it's a
Right.
great doorway for people to get into whatever they're trying to get into creatively or spiritually.
Awesome.
That's a
That's
huge that is an apps that's a huge gift. Just having the doors open
and
is
a
a
safe
huge
space,
gift
knowing that they're in a
in a
safe
safe
space
space,
and don't have to be watching their backs all the time or anything like that. So I
Exactly.
would I would love to have you mention the name of the cafe as well as the address.
Say that again.
Just mention the name of
Oh,
of your cafe and the address so that people can
we're
say,
Caffeine Underground. We're at 447 Central Avenue at the corner of Putnam in Bushwick, Brooklyn, New York.
yeah. And I've been there, and
Fabulous.
I am not a coffee drinker in the United States because I get coffee from other places that's better when I leave the
Yeah.
country. But Ian's coffee I've had, and it's most excellent. For me
We
to be
have
saying
this.
that, if you know
Right
me,
on.
if anybody knows me in coffee, for me to be saying that, that's a big deal.
I met this small roaster, and he has 3 clients. I'm one of them, and he has the best He has the best coffee I've ever had in the United States, except for this one bag of Kona somebody brought me from Hawaii. But his coffee
Wow.
is way up there. My favorite coffee is in Brazil. Like their
Wow.
gas station coffee is better than most of what we can get here. They're so
That
fresh
is amazing.
and amazing, and I've been there 5 times, and I just love it down there. Mostly for the coffee and the beaches.
That
All
is
right. All
amazing.
right.
That sounds
Thank you.
fabulous. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And thank you for making it out. We really
Yes. Yes.
appreciate
Yes.
it. We were really looking forward to having you. I know
Well,
I
I'll
was.
let you
So
know what
I was
happened
just,
later. It was I'm taking care of an elderly woman, and she had a small emergency, so I took care of
Okay.
it. We're
you
good.
All
know,
right.
there was no question that something had
It
to
had
have
to be.
happened.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
certain of it. But thank you. And I'm
And
grateful
thank
and
you
hopeful
so
that
much.
all works
Yes.
out for her.
And
Thank you so
we've been
much.
giving the screen across with your website address and everything. So check it
Yes.
out and check out his coffee, a caffeine underground.
Well,
Okay.
thank you so much.
All
All right,
right.
I'll see you guys later.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
We
much.
were going to get back to our Astrology in just
All
one
right.
second. First, a word from our sponsors.
All righty. Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Excellent. So now, well, I'm so happy he could make it.
Me
I'm
too. That
grateful,
was
and
such a
hopefully
pleasure
everything
having
worked
him
out with
here.
that.
It really was.
Yeah,
I'm really glad he made it.
and hopefully
And I wish
yes,
the woman that he's taking care of, I wish her all the best of
yes,
health, and healing and
exactly.
strength and everything else that he needs. And we want to thank
That's
Ian so
right.
much for joining us.
Absolutely. So, Uh, jumping back to our astrology.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Ian. So back to our astrology, and we're still on Capricorn. We're going into Decan 2, the second decan of Taurus here, right? The Taurus decan.
Yeah.
We're still in Capricorn. We're in
Yes. Yes.
Capricorn, but we're in the Decan 2, which would be the Taurus decan, January 1st through the 10th. Capricorn Decan 2 is ruled by Mars in the Chaldean system and Venus. This is a Taurus triplicity. The sun patrols through the constellations of the Archer, the Harp, and the Octans, the Peacock, and the Eagle from January 10th to 20th. This is undoubtedly the most authoritative decan of Capricorn. The heat of Mars makes it strong in command and extremely competitive. These subjects need to display their achievements in material form and will show off their strengths in quite an ostentatious manner. Venus style. Venus style. The folks of Capricorn Decan 2 do best when all five of their senses are heightened as often as possible, enjoying the Venusian qualities of life, such as touch, taste, design, beauty, pleasure, and rest. Hence, they are more sensual, indulgent, friendly, agreeable, energetic, enthusiastic, tender hearted, prideful, hedonistic, and then more typical Capricorns. They tend to be incredibly attractive people and are often the most artistic Capricorns of all the decans. Capricorn 2 decans do things grandly, but there is the risk of them having delusions of grandeur also. The centaur here really aims high, just like status seeking tropical Capricorn. The artists and musicians among them have a weakness for finely crafted furniture and will want the highest quality instruments to play on. They believe they were made for greater things, so the trashy things don't get treated with respect. That goes for people too. The
Yeah.
worst of yep, the worst offenders of this decan can be very bigoted and may even refer to the lower classes as plebes or worse still, savages. They believe it is their duty to civilize the rougher folk. If they don't make it to the impossibly high grade that they aspire to, then their mental state can be a problem. Self loathing and depression can take hold if these goats can't be the very best. They can also vent their anger and frustration on those they believe are holding them back from world domination. Despite the great potential for a female dominatrix here, generally, the ladies of the breed keep themselves well covered up. They are not generally fickle or promiscuous, however, they can be very serious about sex. Goats can be horny little devils, but they are all or nothing. These folk can go through very celibate times or, very surprisingly, slutty times. It's as if they need a good Saturnalia every so often to let off steam. Then they can return to their more restrained self. Everything in their life has to be functional. If something does happen to be decorative, then its purpose will be to describe the high status of its owner. Example, a Harley Davidson with lots of shiny chrome and extra long pointy phallic exhaust is so very Capricorn deckhand too. These folk can be elitists, but the material gain that comes from this deckhand is usually well earned and deserved. Everything is worked hard for, and material gains are valued and reinvested for future generations. With Mars ruling this deckhand, they are extremely ambitious and they see themselves as being important specimens of the human race and essential to the building of civilization. Sometimes they can find they just cannot get off the treadmill. They become as devilishly indolent and stubborn as the Taurus triplicity that rules here. You can definitely see a touch of Beelzebub in some of these natives. There is a dark humor and also a touch of supernatural too. Austin Coppock calls this deckhand the pyramid. The pyramids are indeed mysterious, but also hierarchical. The soul needs to go through upward stages of evolution in order to return back to the source. Some examples of Capricorn 2 folk are Richard Nixon, Kim Jong Un, Isaac Newton, J.R. Tolkien, Gene Dixon, Stephen Hawking, Mel Gibson, Nicolas Cage, Victoria Principal, Elvis Presley, David Bowie, Donna Summer, Shirley Bassey, Marilyn Monroe, R. Kelly, Eris Discovery, Ja J. Edgar Hoover, John Edgar Hoover, Linda Lovelace, Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, the Euro, Sarah's Discovery, Elizabeth Taylor, and Richard Burton.
All right.
So those are some examples.
Yeah. All right. So I'm moving on to the Deccan 3, and they are from January, anyone who's born January 11th to the 20th, and they are the Virgo Deccan 3. Capricorn Deccan 3 is ruled by the Sun and Mercury, a Virgo triplicity. The Sun takes noble strides through the constellations of the Harp, the Peacock, Eagle, Fox, Archer, and the Indian from 20 to 30 degrees Virgo. This decan successfully combines artistic and musical ability with a great business mind. These arty goats are aspirational and think very highly of themselves, but don't brag about their talents. Decan 3s are being ruled by Mercury, making these folks fantastic teachers, healers, and confidants than their typical Capricorn counterparts. They are curious, book smart, helpful, and gentle, lessening some of the rigid edges of a textbook Capricorn. These Capricorns are known for being truth seekers, inquisitive, thoughtful, mysterious, poised, and vivacious. They are elegant and will always have enough admirers to blow their trumpet for them. They see themselves from a higher place, whether it's a royal castle, a spiritual mountain, or even an alien starship. They feel connected to the gods up there, but equally feel the same connection with spirituality in nature right here. These folk have an all seeing eye because of their elevated perspective and have great vision. They can see far into the future as well as far into the past. They can actually make very accurate predictions as to the likely outcome of an event. This is why they're often so successful in business. These
Hmm.
goats are often underestimated because often they are just too aesthetically pleasing. The really beautiful ones are either feared or treated as bimbos. These Capricorn Decan 3s have a natural understated charm and refined sense of dress, unless Uranus is in the aspect to the sign like Russell Brand. Generally, they dress to impress, but in a very classy way, wearing expensive natural fibers, silks, and really well cut suits. Some of them make their own clothes, even in this day and age. These folks are incredibly cunning. They play with words and are delightful storytellers. Of course, this can make brilliant liars as well. They can spin a yarn, draw you in, and before you know it, you are caught up in their spider web of fables. They are like a living, breathing historical soap opera. Their love life is a cliffhanger, and you are always left wanting more. These folks are in touch with nature and its myths. This means that this zone breeds filmmakers, conceptual artists, soundtrack music writers, and photographers. The danger here is focusing on gaining material wealth in quite a ruthless manner. You can imagine that sometimes sometimes you see a loss of a danger on gaining a loss of moral code, which has leading them to domination and excessive cruelty. Al Capone, Harold Shipman, and Herman Goring. Used from the greater good, however, the influence of this refined, elevated intellect combined with artistic gifts and business savvy can last generations. Their creations are timeless. So, as a result, they do not date very often. Here are some of their examples of this amazing Capricorn Decan 3: Benjamin Franklin, Muhammad Ali, Michelle Obama, Joan of Arc, Martin Luther King, Al Capone, Aristotle Onassis, Federico Fellini, hope I didn't mess that one up, Kevin Costner,
Right.
Cary Grant, Jim Carrey, Orlando Bloom, Faye Dunaway, Dolly Parton, Janis Joplin, Aaliyah, Sade, Mary J. Blige, Pat Benatar, Rod Stewart, LL Cool J, Eartha Kitt, Kate Moss, Edgar Allan Poe, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Bruce Willis, Demi Moore, Mick Jagger, and Jerry Hall.
Wow, those are some
I
folks.
know,
Right on. Yes. So now we move into Aquarius folk. Aquarius going from January 20th to February 18th. I'll start with the first decan, which is starting January 20th through the 30th. Aquarius decan 1 is ruled by Venus and Saturn. This is the Aquarius triplicity. They reside in the arrow, the eagle, the goat, the microscope, and the toucan. The sun aligns with these stars approximately from 0 to 10 degrees Aquarius. These fixed stars are a focused, bold, aspirational, metaphysical, and quirky bunch. The first star in this decan is Sagitta, the arrow, said to be the weapon that slew the eagle Aquila. This same eagle ate from the liver of Prometheus, and Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. However, Uranus's astrological meaning has far more in common with the myth of Prometheus than it has to the Uranus myth. Prometheus was the hero known for stealing fire from the gods, which in turn enabled civilization to occur. The myth goes that the myth goes on that Prometheus's great hubris was punished, however, when the gods tied Prometheus to a rock. Each day, Aquila, the eagle, Zeus's eagle, would peck away at his liver, which grew back ad infinitum to be eaten away all over again. This myth is reflected by the fact Decan 1 Aquarians do become consumed by an idea and they have an insatiable appetite for acquiring wisdom. The rock in the myth symbolizes the connection to Aquarius's traditional ruler, Saturn. Being ruled by Uranus, they show up as typical Aquarius folks: defiant, individualistic, radical, innovative, witty, a bit eccentric innovators, humanitarians, trendsetters, and rebels. Less concerned with fitting in, but rather how can they and ra- with but rather how they can break the mold. They see the world as it could be rather than how it currently is. They live outside of the box and always want to give proper time and space to their outlandish ideas. If they feel restricted, they will do whatever it takes to reclaim their independence and individuality. They represent the quest for scientific knowledge and advancement, but also can overreach itself. They represent the quest, I'm sorry, for advance, but also can overreach themselves. Aquila, the eagle, is the largest star in this decan, and Sagitta slew it. Therefore, Aquarians are prone to shoot themselves in the foot occasionally. Aquarius Decan 1 can be the lone genius whose best intentions, excuse me, to improve the conditions of humanity can sometimes result in ruin. Frankenstein is a good example, though. Remember, he was not the monster, it was the circumstances around him. Aquarians can be great humanitarians, but are also often accused of lacking compassion. This is because of their tendency to keep a distance from those they are trying to aid. Tying the Promethean Aquarians to a rock is probably the only way to keep these space cadets on planet Earth and in touch with reality. Deccan 1 Aquarians will often find their rocks in relationships, but they will often blame their partners for tying them down. They are visionaries and are forever chasing new horizons. As they hover above the clouds, their mind is free to catch an innovative idea from the ether. Capricorn's horns work like antennae, picking up insights brewing in the collective consciousness. This is a futuristic decan at the cutting edge of change. The goat and the eagle have foresight and can also see far into the distance. The goat's influence on tropical Aquarius here is pure ambition and great focus. However, it can be so intent on pursuing its goals, it can suffer from tunnel vision. This disconnection with the earth can get them into trouble in relationships because they can fall in love far too quickly, jumping in at the deep end while ignoring practical considerations. They suffer terribly when their big dreams are shattered. On the positive side, Altair is brave, bold, and daring precisely because their high perspective does not allow them to get bogged down or distracted by irrelevant domestic drudgery. The sun is traditionally in its detriment in Aquarius, but it is strengthened if within orb of the brighter stars here. They will feel somewhat of an outsider, so it would probably be best for them to embrace their eccentricities. People either love them or hate them, but they are most likely to be shot down if they show weakness. In time, these folk learn to operate from behind a protective Saturnian armor so that the slings and arrows no longer harm them. Karmically, this suggests that many lifetimes in poverty and toil have chiseled the stone into a diamond. Now is time for the soul to shine, but the challenge now is not to fall back into the struggles of their memories from past lifetimes. They always there are always they are always pulled to towards the frontier to discover what stands outside the known. They need the freedom to innovate and room to explore what others have neglected. Some examples of our Aquarius Decan 1 would be Lord Byron, Grigory Rasputin, Virginia Woolf, Anton Chekhov, Wolfgang Mozart, Maria von Trapp, Placido Domingo, Neil Diamond, Phil Collins, Sam Cooke, Eddie Van Halen, Alicia Keys, Paul Newman, Rutger Hauer, John Hurt, Natasha Kinsky, Tom Selleck, Linda Blair, Gina Davis, Bridget Fonda, John Belushi, Elijah Wood, Benny Hill, Oprah Winfrey, Angela Davis, Ellen DeGeneres, Joan of Arc, Sharon Tate, Princess Caroline of Monaco, Christian Dior, and Jackson Pollock.
All right. That was
That's a
amazing. That's
list.
great with Decan 1. All right. So now we move on to the Aquarius Decan 2. Those are the ones that are born January 30th to February 10th. Okay. Aquarius Decan 2 is ruled by Mercury. It's a Gemini triplicity. So these fixed stars reside in the goat, the crane, the swan, the southern fish, and the dolphin. The sun aligns with these stars from approximately 10 to 20 degrees Gemini. This is a gentle breed of water bearer. Things are a little mellow here, but it doesn't mean this section is any less eccentric than Aquarius Decan 1's. There is still the famous Aquarian rebelliousness, only here it is masked in a milder manner. In Aquarius Decan 2, we can find the brooding and sometimes insolent Aquarians. These are the folks who dig their fixed sign heels in real deep if you wish to push them, or if you try to push them, that is. Their great success comes from sheer willpower from this decan, mainly because they are too darn stubborn to be swayed from pursuing their goals. This decan is influenced by the actual water bearer itself, with Al Bali in the left hand of Aquarius. This star in Arabic means the good fortune of the swallower, named because this star appears to absorb the light of the sum of the stars in Capricorn's horns nearby. Gemini decan 2, Aquarian's ruler, Mercury adds an extra flair for communication, education, restlessness, spontaneity, and for their natural duality. With their intellect, these Aquarians are capable of concocting brilliant game-changing ideas and regaling everyone with them. These decans are the ice kings and queens of the zodiac. If you dump them, there will be no drama, no yelling, or unbecoming subbing. These subjects will simply glide away without a fuss or a ruffled feather.
Mhm.
It literally is water off the duck's back. For these aquatic birds, they're natural or they're valuable. They value their self-respect more than anything else, and it must stay intact no matter what. However, don't think for 1 minute you got away with it. These folks have a way of getting revenge that's similar to and just like their fellow fixed sign Scorpio. This punishment is served stone cold. So watch out.
Mhm.
Because of this decan's cool as a cucumber demeanor and elevated heads, they are sometimes accused of being snobs. Yes, decan twos are aspirational like Aquarius decan 1, but their sensitive feelings keep them human and make them more sympathetic than your typical Aquarian. This could be due to the presence of the constellation of the Southern Fish, which also houses the mystical and imaginative star Fomalhaut. The water bearer in the sky stands upon this fish, and the water from the Aquarius urn pours into his open mouth, as some interprets as the fish drinks the waters of the flood to save the world. That's some of the interpretations. Aquarian's humanitarian savior like qualities is strongly present in this decan due to Fomalhaut's, I know I'm saying that wrong, but anyways, Fomalhaut's influence, even if the star no longer resides there. Some of the natives, like Barack Obama or Jim Morrison, carry a messianic like quality about them. Apart from Amos, most of the stars there here are shy and placid. The dolphin, crane, fish, and swan are all animals that spend time in or out or on water. Even Capricorn has a fish's tail. So this Decan 2 Aquarian really does form a bridge between air and water. Aquarians aren't noted for their sensitivity. Their soppy side is kept hidden and they tend to bottle up their feelings. The swan is a bittersweet bird with its lovely white feathers cloaking a jet black skin. Aquarian decans too are proud and hold their head high through the most traumatic situations. The sun has no dignity in this decan and in detriment in Aquarius, seeming indicating that they possibly had difficulty owning their sovereignty earlier in life. Often these folk come across like overly trusting, naive children unless they have other more earthy and ruthless configurations in their chart. As the sun in Aquarius decantus matures and gain wisdom, they learn to find their people and begin to feel accepted. They blossom once others value their unique approach to life and give them positive feedback to their eccentricities in all its glory. They can be surprisingly shy, but always also coyly come hither. These folk can be quietly alluring and are unexpectedly super sexy, magnetic Aquarians in a sign that not really noted for its sex appeal. Examples of these people are Charles Dickens, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Eva Braun, Placido Domingo, Bob Marley, Justin Timberlake, Johnny Lydon, Natalie Cole, Lisa Marie Presley, Shakira, Holly Johnson, Bobby Brown, Vanessa Redgrave, Clark Gable, James Dean, Pharrell Fawcett, Eddie Izzard, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Franz Schubert, and Gertrude Stein.
Wow, that's a nice list too.
Yeah, yeah.
On to our on to our Decan 3, Aquarius, February 11th through the 19th. This is the Libra Decan. Aquarius Decan 3 is ruled by the moon and Venus. This is a Libra triplicity. The sun travels through the goat, the foal, the water bearer, the swan, and the male water snake from approximately 20 to 30 degrees Libra. It brings the confrontation of the old with the new. This is the most revolutionary and edgy decan of Aquarius. This decan marries the swan's unbridled imagination and libido with the transformative spiraling tail of the sea goat. Saturn rules both Aquarius and Capricorn and is the last planet one can see with the naked eye, so it has no illusions and is plain speaking. Decan 3 Aquarians are scientific and skeptical, but at the same time, they're open to exploring other realms. They just need to test things out first until they are satisfied with the results, but that's part of who they are. Decan 3 Aquarians test limits. They push boundaries and most of all test people's patience. The goat's influence here is at its most capricious and devilish, mainly because of the swan's poetic influence and the fact it is also ruled by two feminine planets. This means we have a nice balance of masculine left brain logic and feminine right brain imagination. These folk are also ruled by Venus, making them more romantic, harmonious, and balanced than their typical Aquarius counterparts. They are also affectionate, lively, crave autonomy, and are known for good judgment. They are less focused on standing out and more focused on fitting in and keeping the peace. They're also prone to following trends in beauty, design, and aesthetics, making the beautiful parts of life a priority. FYI, Paris Hilton was born during this decade. Decan 3 Aquarians are the flirty ones with a horny sex drive and seductive panpipes since the sea goat was originally the god Pan. The swan is artistic, the male water snake is sleazy, and the goat loves a good romp. So this decan is a bohemian hedonist and seducer. Since this deckhand works so hard, they believe they've earned the right to play hard. Despite their intelligence, they manage to come across as real airheads. Others are more like the devil may care fool in the tarot, a wandering troubadour with a dash of Peter Pan thrown in. They tend to push their luck, but somehow get away with it by a blend of genuine innocence and sheer good fortune. They are the famous part of the Aquarian commitment phobia. They dump you, but then want to keep their cake and eat it. We'll still see each other. You're my bestie. Yeah, no. Anyway, they live on a knife's edge. They are the revolutionary and activist on the front line of change. These people are the innovators, the breakers of molds, and society's catalysts for change. Their restless, experimental, inventive mind will bring their career success, but their personal life suffers. It is very hard for these subjects to get excited about mundane domestic matters, so they are often accused of being cold and distant. Even though these natives might be pretty unconventional, they do have their own moral code that they adhere to quite rigidly. That famous stubbornness of Aquarian's fixed sign, this is where they are in Deccan 3. They are very much all or nothing. They do not commit to anything easily because they know how vacillating they can be. Conversely, when they do finally jump in, you can expect rock solid immovability. When those Aquarian Peter Pans do finally grow up, the sudden change is often extreme and shocking. One day, your Aquarian friend is a punky, leather clad, chain smoking, hard drinking reactionary. The next day, they are a clean cut, respected pillar of the community. Sometimes it can happen the other way around, of course, with the midlife crisis turning a goody two shoes into a debauched dropout. The occult wisdom influence is obvious in this decan, as their mystical side can push these folk up the status ladder. The sun in this decan doesn't bring an easy life. Abraham Lincoln is a good example. He was known to be a religious skeptic, but in the end was assassinated for his abolition of slavery. If you play the game and surrender your sovereignty 100%, you have basically sold your soul to the devil. Once in a position of power, you cannot rebel against your paymaster or you will be brought down. Best keep a low profile with this, the occult, and work underground, but you have to be very clear about it. Sun 3 Aquarians: Abraham Lincoln, Charles Darwin, Sir Thomas More, Eckhart Tolle, Alex Jones, Thomas Edison, Sarah Palin, Mary Quant, I don't know who that is,
Yeah.
Jimmy Hoffa, Joe Pesci, John Travolta, Matt Dillon, Burt Reynolds, Mia Farrow, Christina Ricci, Yoko Ono, Peter Gabriel, Robbie Williams, Sonny Bono, Carole King, Sybil Shepherd, Paris Hilton, Jennifer Aniston, Molly Ringwald, Stockard Channing, Leslie Nielsen, and John McEnroe.
All right.
So we have lots of information. We got through those two signs. Time to quickly draw a card.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget. Sorry, I was saying, do check out darkstarastrology.com for further decan insights. She does a great blog on that. All
Oh,
right.
fabulous.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Okay.
All right. So
So
we're
we're
pulling
going
a
to draw
card
a
about
card to see what it's like for those within the Capricorn and Aquarius
mm-hmm.
hands.
And I am dealing with my big deck tonight. It's the Rider-Waite-Smith deck.
I'm still
And
dealing with the same one I always deal with.
it's the Rider-Waite-Smith. It's just,
Oh, wow. Okay.
oh, oh,
What
what
do
you
you
got? The
got,
Ace
Joe?
of Cups.
I have the, yeah, you're right. How did you see that? Damn.
I saw the cup with the water. It's just,
Okay. Honestly, I couldn't read it at first, but yeah, you're right. It's the Ace of Cups.
yeah,
So what have you got?
death.
All right. Okay.
So yeah, we're just looking at what is death talking about. So we all recognize the energy of death is that energy of, well, the inevitability of change. I also like to say it's also that card. Don't let anything get between you and whatever it is you're striving for, because nothing
Oh, yeah.
stops this thing. Nothing stops change. And if you're focused on a goal, just you have to go for it. That's
Yeah.
that's the main message that I get from this card. Push
And
forward.
apropos,
Change
because
is
when you think
inevitable.
about it, both Capricorn and Aquarius, they're very much there. The cans have a grain of all of that in there. That's so interesting
Yes.
that that is there, and it always comes out with something that's there. Um,
Yes.
this is the Ace of Cups, and if you look at this, a lot of the Aquarian and even the Capricorn, a lot of air and water played with them.
Hmm.
And to me, this card does a lot of that. There is the entire thing is this giant cup or chalice, and all along the sides are water and beautiful flowers and everything else on the bottom. They're like water lilies because everything is all
Hmm.
water based. And that's the way it feels. And except, of course, it's all in the middle of air itself. So it's kind
Hmm.
of like you remember how I think it was either Decan 3 or Decan 2 of Aquarius that said about bridging the gap between air and water. That's what it reminded me of.
Yes.
That's exactly what it
Yes.
reminded me of. And the control of that, the
Yeah.
bridge between those worlds, but at the same time, the the chalice is overflowing a bit, but it's showing that it's controlled overflow. It's not chaotic. It's just overflowing in four different spaces. If you look at it, oh sorry, there we go. It's overflowing in four different areas and it looks very
Hmm.
controlled. When you think about it, a
Hmm.
chalice that's overflowing would have been overflowing through all the way around, but it's only flowing in four areas. So to me, that says a lot about the control and everything else that they have with it. The say that they have, gaining their sovereignty a little bit maybe earlier than they should. Um, or trying to gain it on their own in one way or another, coming into their own, the wisdom that they can gain from each decan, and how very different they are. They're imagine being in the same sign, but you're so different, each of them, and what
Yes.
aspect that they bring, and because it's based on the the air and the water that's it's within those two signs, and they are, and especially I think it's Aquarian, that's the fixed sign, right? And that's very stubborn.
Aquarius.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes. It
there's a
is.
lot,
Yes.
it's very fixed and wanting to control certain things more. And at the same time wanting to be control of everything that they do. They have foresight, they see the past, they see the present, and they see the future, and they're great at business. So this is to me an offerings also of so much wealth, so many things that's being offered. It's up to you to find that business or that area that would help you to
Oops.
gain all that wealth that you can get, and to see yourself for who you are, a visionary, someone who can accomplish many things. All right.
Yes. That's part of what I see. What do I see? What am I looking for? No, Cap, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. So that is the mutable. That's mutable air. Um, but I wanted to get back to the message that you're talking about that combination and moving through. And I see that with this
Yeah,
the push, the moving through, the transition, that
the
that I
change,
see with this
like you said, you can't
change.
prevent it. There it is. All
Yes,
right.
there it is. Listen, lots going on. This was really good info. We're going to continue. What do we have next? What are our next
We want to
signs?
let you guys know we are off on Friday coming up, and the next time we are back will be Friday, November 3rd at 10 p.m. And our guest would be Joseph
Yes.
Zakowski.
Yes. And at that time, we'll be looking at, what is it,
Yes, that's the
Pisces?
last one on the list, and we will be going through the
Pisces.
decans of Pisces, the last one on the list. And we hope you guys enjoyed this one and all the other ones. Go back and listen to where you are located, and if it can help you.
Yes.
And we want to thank our guest, Ian Ford, and anyone who was in the chat for
Yes.
tonight for being here. If again you guys can think of anything that you would like us to, or anyone that you would like us to interview, please do let us know. We welcome that. We have a long list of people booked, I think, all the way through December. But for next year, we do have openings. So let us know if you have someone in
Yes.
mind.
Let us know.
Yes.
That would be fabulous. Again, as always, we thank you for joining us. We ask you to like, subscribe, and
Yes.
share. We really do appreciate that. And we will not be here next week. As Star said, we'll be back in
Third.
November. So thank you all. Happy
Oh
Samhain,
yes,
blessed Samhain to
that's
you
right.
all.
Happy Samhain, blessed full moon, everything that's coming up the rest
Yes,
of this month, and that's why we're taking off. We want to enjoy our Samhain.
yes, yes,
So enjoy your
absolutely.
time, and we will see you guys November 3rd. Many blessings
Have
to
a
you all.
great couple of weeks,
Yes.
everyone. Blessings.